So welcome. I understand there are some classes that just got out over in J building, and so by the time I think the mayor gets going, hopefully they'll be here. So we'll kick it off. First of all, I'd like to just welcome all of you for attending today, and thank you to the mayor. He's taking his show on the road. I just listened to his speech on yesterday, and it was an amazing speech. He's doing a lot of great work for the city of Joliet, so we always appreciate you taking time to visit Joliet Junior College. This is the 4th year Mayor Odekirk has been here, and we thank him again for his not only supporting Joliet Junior College, but taking that time to share all the good works of what's going on in the city and share that with all of our students and our visitors with us today. The city of Joliet continues to be an excellent partner to all of us, and here at JJC, we are always welcome to providing the venues and opportunities for the mayor and any other of our elected officials or community members that would like to visit our campus and host events in our campus. Today, the purpose of the mayor coming also supports the college's mission and provides a place where free exchange of ideas are welcomed and encouraged. And I know the mayor will open it up to Q&A at the end of his speech. So a special thank you to our business department, Chairman Bill O'Connor, and all our amazing, wonderful, and dedicated faculty and his team for pulling this together. And I know we have a lot of active students in the business clubs. Many of you helped me actually prepare our materials for our United Way campaign, so I thank all of you for your participation. And I know we have many students here, but I also know we do have a couple of elected officials here today. I'd like to acknowledge Carl Gilmore, President of the Plainfield Public Library District, and David Palya, I saw you walk in, President of the Lockport Fire District. So with that, and without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Bill O'Connor, and he will introduce Mayor Odekirk. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mitchell. President Mitchell has been just a great supporter of the business department's efforts to promote civic engagement, and we really appreciate that and thank her very much. Welcome to all of you. Thank you for coming. Once again, today's event was put together with the help of a number of people that have pitched in and helped. So I'd like to thank all of the faculty and staff at Joliet Junior College, especially those who encourage students to come and participate. Thanks to all the students for coming. I'd like to thank a couple of our faculty in the business department, Margie Sepon, who started this event several years ago and has worked hard with it. Now she's working and trying to work with the city to develop an entrepreneurship program along with the Chamber of Commerce, and so we're excited about that. Lori Johnson, who is the mentor to our business club, has really helped with generating student support and interest for our activities. Our department assistant, Susie Betcher, is responsible for making sure the chairs that you're sitting on were here and that everything is set up. I also want to especially thank Kelly Roeder-Tonelli and Scott Harvey from our communication and external relations department for the getting the word out and to the community about this event. And so we're very thankful for the support. It's really a great honor to introduce Mayor Odekirk once again on his visit to the college. As the nation's oldest public community college, we are a real stakeholder in Joliet, and we appreciate him coming and reporting to us on the state of the city and his willingness to work with us. Mayor Odekirk is really a living example of public service and civic engagement. After attending the University of Illinois, he became a police officer for the city of Joliet. He went to law school at night at John Marshall Law School. After he finished law school, he worked as a prosecutor for the city of Chicago and the Cook County State's Attorney. He then had an opportunity to serve in Iraq with the Department of State, where he trained Iraqi police officers and ended up being a regional commander in Iraq. He then returned to the United States, came back, set up a private law practice, ran for city council, and then in 2015 was elected mayor. So we'd really like to welcome the mayor, and so please join me in giving him a warm welcome. Thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming out. Dr. Mitchell, again, thank you for the invite. This is the 4th year in a row, and I really enjoy coming out here. It's a whole different group that I normally speak to. I gave this speech at the Chamber of Commerce yesterday, and you're talking to labor leaders and business leaders in Joliet and a lot of elected officials. So it's good to a different group, different generation, and get the message across what we're doing downtown with the city. At the end, there will be open questions. And this is always a lively group. I get more here than I do at the Chamber event. So I'm looking forward to it. But again, thank you for coming out. There's probably about 5 or 6 different speeches within this that I could give on some of the topics. I'm really going to gloss over quickly, just because there's so much going on in the city of Joliet. So I'm going to hammer through what we have here, and then I will open up any questions from the crowd. So when I give this speech every year, I usually start out with the economics of what's happening in Joliet. And this year, I approached it a little bit differently. I'm at the end of my 4-year term, so I want to do basically a 4-year comparison, where Joliet is today at the end of 2018 as opposed to where we were at the end of 2014. The numbers, I think, are off the charts. They're really good. The only negative I'll start with has to do with revenue from gaming revenue, from the riverboats. 2014, the city of Joliet collected $19.9 million. Last year, 2018, the city collected $17.8 million. And as you can see by the chart, that's significantly off from where we were back in 2007. That was a high water mark. The city collected $36 million in riverboat revenue. So that's been declining slowly over the years. The decline continues the last couple of years. It's something we're aware of at City Hall, and we understand we have to find a way to make up those dollars, which is where a lot of the speech is going to talk about today. But having said that, for 2014 sales tax, the city collected $44.8 million. Last year, the city collected $50.5 million. That's going up every year. That's a good sign for Joliet. Our general fund revenue. In 2014, the city collected $167 million in revenue. 2018, the city collected $181 million. Again, that's a number that's going up every year, and that's a good sign. The city's doing well, economically we're healthy. Our general fund balance, which is the reserve, it's a savings account for the city of Joliet. In 2014, it was at $52.5. 2018, it's estimated at $51.9. So the number's pretty much held the same, which is important. I'm going to get back to that because I'm going to talk about the discretionary spending the city has done the last few years and the capital spending that we've done, and we've been able to do it without dipping into the reserve fund and without raising taxes in Joliet. Moving forward, the building permits for the last 4 years, the city of Joliet issued 24,447 building permits, collecting revenue off of that of $8.4 million. Real estate transfer tax fees for the last 4 years, the city collected $9.4 million in fees. Water and sewer connection fees to the city, $6 million the last 4 years. The estimated assessed valuation in Joliet. What this number means, if you own property in Joliet, has your property value gone up or gone down? As you can see by the chart, after 2009, there was steady decrease in property values in Joliet. That ended in 2015. For the first year in many, property value went up 2.75%. The year after, property values went up an average of 5.53%. In 2017, property values went up an average of 6.71%. In 2018, property values went up an average of 6.07%. So that's a 4-year average. On average, if you own property in the city, your property value was raised by 21%. It's an outstanding number. It's great to tell people that it's a Joliet investment. Buying property in our city is a good investment. Again, that's something that the council has to work hard on to continue that trend moving forward. But then the total added property valuation, the value of the new construction inside the city of Joliet for the last 4 years, this is an amazing number, is $1.4 billion. So for a city our size, we are the 3rd biggest city in the state, but for over $1 billion of investment over a 4-year period is a great, great number. Big compliments to our economic development director, the different city managers that have worked here in the city council for getting that done. A couple other things I want to delve into. I'm going to talk about the law department revenue. When I was elected mayor 4 years ago, one of my initiatives was to change the law department in the city of Joliet. And essentially, we had in-house attorneys that we got rid of and started privatizing the legal services for a variety of reasons. I want to go over a 4-year review on that decision. In 2014, the city spent $2.8 million to run the legal department for the city of Joliet. In 2018, we spent $2.7 million. So the numbers are essentially the same. What we've seen, and what I suspected we were going to see, is a difference in what the city's paying out in legal claims. In 2014, the city paid $2.1 million out in legal claims. In 2017, that number was reduced to $117,000. It was a 20th of what we had spent a couple years before. I don't think we reported on that number last year because I wasn't sure if it was real, if it was an anomaly or an outlier. But I'm happy to say in 2018, we spent $285,000 in legal claims. So for the same amount of money, we're spending about somewhere between a 20th and a 10% of what we were spending before. So it's a great number, and it was a great decision to privatize the legal services. We also are currently making a switch to local prosecution of low-end misdemeanor or non-jailable offenses. This is something most other cities do, including the city of Chicago. When I was a prosecutor for the city of Chicago was actively doing this. Joliet hasn't done it. I don't know why over all these years it hasn't been done. We're going to start the process we're starting now. Next year, we'll be happy to report the numbers of revenue that's going to be raised for the city for doing this. But I'm looking forward to the report. I think it's more good news coming forward. Another area where I think the city over the years had dropped the ball had to do with truck enforcement. And I know that's a very topical matter right now. Trucks inside or around the city of Joliet, on our roads, trucks riding overweight, trucks riding illegally throughout the city. Prior to 2016, and this is hard to believe, but prior to 2016, the city of Joliet did not charge or issue overweight permits. So with the largest intermodal and the entire inland port in the entire North America continent on our southern border, Joliet was letting trucks ride for free, illegally or overweight through Joliet. That changed in 2016. Marty Shanahan, who's the city manager now, was the corporation counsel. It was his efforts to change the ordinance. In the last 3 years, the city has collected $916,000 in overweight permits. More importantly, with the enforcement of the overweight trucks, this is something that, again, has changed in the last couple of years. In 2014, the city of Joliet wrote 16 tickets for overweight trucks. In 2015, we only wrote 10 tickets. In 2016, we wrote 22 tickets. That changed. In 2017, I met with the police chief, Brian Benton, told him that I thought we were failing in this department, asked him what he needed from the city to ramp up the truck enforcement program. Chief Benton advised us he needed 4 full-time officers taken from patrol and dedicated to the traffic division. We did that, and we made the commitment to hire those 4 officers back, which we've done. I think the results speak for themselves. After that was done in mid-2017, the city wrote 271 tickets to trucks traveling illegally through Joliet, generated revenue of $1,066,000. Last year, we wrote 492 tickets, generated revenue of $1.4 million for trucks driving illegally through Joliet. Chief Benton retired in November of last year. Chief Rochner took over. He met with me and asked for 2 additional officers to be committed to that program. We've done that in 2019. Year to date, and this number is probably about a week old, but for the month of January and the first week of February, we've written 216 traffic tickets to trucks riding overweight in Joliet and generated an income of $146,000. So I think it's a great trend. I compliment both Chief Benton and Chief Rochner for having the foresight to get behind this. It's something that we know it's an issue in Joliet. We're going to continue moving forward. We're going to hold the trucks accountable. I do want to point out, I'm going to talk about this later in the speech, but the bulk of the truck traffic are not Joliet trucks. They're trucks coming from all around us, from New Lenox, Shorewood, Elwood. There's thousands of trucks a day coming in from the intermodal, coming to and leaving the intermodal in Elwood that are driving Joliet roads. So it's important that we hold these truck drivers accountable. If they're going to travel through Joliet, they're going to do it responsibly. They're not going to endanger our citizens, and they're not going to tear up our roads that they're not paying for. So I think it's a great number, and we'll look to continue that moving forward. So to wrap up the numbers, what does this mean for the average Joliet resident? Well, as I said earlier, it means that we're able, the economic success we've had, we're able to reinvest in the city in a number of different ways without draining our reserve fund and without raising taxes in Joliet. I'll give you a couple examples. 2 years ago, the city council made the commitment. We know in many areas of Joliet, not so much out here, but in the older parts of town, we have an aging infrastructure. And anyone who lives in those neighborhoods know in weather like this, where the temperature jumps up and down, water mains break all over town. And the city is constantly tearing up roads, repairing the water mains. And we're continuing to do that. The city council made the decision not simply to repair things when they broke, but start replacing the aging infrastructure. So in 2017, the city laid 4 miles of new water mains throughout the city at a cost of $6.6 million. Last year, we laid another 4 miles at the cost of $5.8 million. This year in the budget, we have budgeted to lay another 5 miles of new water main at a cost of $7.7 million. We've done the same with the sewer mains. In 2017, the city laid 9 miles of new sewer mains at a cost of $6.2 million. Last year, 12 miles of new sewer main at a cost of $8.6 million. And this year, we have budgeted 8 miles of new sewer main in Joliet at a cost of $11 million. So over the last 3 years, that's $45.9 million of discretionary spending the city of Joliet has committed to our infrastructure. And again, I'm repeating myself, but that's done without hitting our reserve fund and without raising taxes. It's a great compliment, I think, to the city council for making that decision and that we have the economic means to do that, to reinvest in our city. We've made other capital improvements. We bought 2 years ago 70 new police vehicles. I don't want to say cars because they're not cars anymore, they're SUVs, but 70 new police vehicles. We've bought fire trucks. We know we have issues with our ambulances. We have to replace the ambulance fleet. We're in the process of buying new snow plows, new dump trucks, and equipment for the public works. We have pension contribution commitments that we have to make by law. They are going up. In 2014, the city had to pay into the police pension fund $12.7 million. In 2018, that number raised to $16.8 million. It's the same story with fire. In 2014, the city's contribution was $11.4 million. In 2018, that number is $13.3 million. So, again, costs are rising in the city, but because of the revenue that we're raising and because of our economic health, we're able to meet those without raising taxes on the people of Joliet. So I guess the question, I'm going to shift, how are we doing it? Well, we're doing it through economic development. You know, I talked about that $1.4 billion. There's an outstanding number. That's private money that's coming into the city, invested in our city of Joliet. And it's certainly something that Joliet or any other municipality would want. Private money, new money coming into the city, invested in their city. I'm going to talk real briefly. I'm going to hit on some of the high-level developments that came in 2018. And there's a couple of issues I want to spend a little bit of time on. But let me run right down the list. And again, I know I'm running quick on this, but there's a lot to get out. So last May, the Rockmont Hotel and Conference Center opened in Joliet. That's right down the street from here. That's the Holiday Inn at Hobolt Road and I-80. Aside from being a new hotel, that's a 6,000 square foot banquet space along with a 2,000 foot breakout space. A nice addition to Joliet. We don't have a real convention center in Joliet. That's the closest we have. So I welcome Holiday Inn for their inclusion in the Joliet. I'm glad that they decided to invest here, and I welcome them to our city. Also in May, Joliet saw the opening of the Northern Illinois Food Bank. That's at the old Cub Food site on Larkin Avenue. It's a regional provider for food. It's going to provide Will, Grundy, Kendall, and Kankakee County is all coming from that center. In May, the Federal Express Service Center opened inside the Center Point Business Park. That Federal Express is going to employ another 150 people in our city. That is also regional Federal Express Center, so things are going to be regionally coming out of there, not just for the city of Joliet. The Joliet Gateway Center opened in June. That was, I guess, in effect, a new train station. As many of you would know, that was a stop and start program for a long time. The money was committed, the money was pulled back. All total, it was a $51 million investment in downtown Joliet, most of it by the state of Illinois, but it was a public-private partnership. Burlington Northern and Union Pacific Railroads were also part of that. It's a two-story, 10,000 square foot facility. The pictures, Governor Rauner came to town to celebrate its opening. I do want to thank the state of Illinois for their contribution and their investment in downtown Joliet. Hawk Motors relocated in Joliet. A little bit of story behind Hawk. There's Subaru and Mazda, there's several different dealerships. Hawk was getting pressure from the corporate offices to move the dealership to Route 59. They initially negotiated with the Joliet entity on Route 59. That fell through. They went north to Plainfield and were going to buy property $1 million cheaper than what it was offered for in Joliet. We saved the deal at the last second. Hawk came to City Hall, working with Steve Jones and Derek Conley. We were able to preserve Hawk and keep him inside the city of Joliet. Ultimately, they contracted with the Joliet Park District. They bought land from the Park District. They're going to locate their dealerships now at Route 59 and Caton Farm Road. That was a nice save for the city. That would have been significant tax dollars that would have left the city if another auto dealership would have left. So we're happy to keep Hawk inside Joliet. Binny's Liquor opened up. I don't know if that's appropriate for this level, but soon you'll be there. Now, Binny's is a great, it's something the city was looking at for a long time, trying to get a location for Binny's inside Joliet. They moved out by Joliet, by Louis Joliet Mall, replacing the H.H. Gregg. It's a 22,000 square foot facility for Binny's. Hope Manor Joliet opened in Joliet this last year. It's the Volunteers of America. What that is a group that provides housing and affordable housing for veterans. They have projects in the city of Chicago. This was their first venture outside of Chicago. They came to Joliet. They opened a 67-unit complex at the old Silver Cross site on the east side of Joliet. So I want to thank Hope Manor. They've been great community partners. And again, it's great to see new money being invested, especially in an older neighborhood like they did by the old Silver Cross Hospital. Cadence Pit Stop opened last summer in Joliet. Cadence is really a good story for our city. Cadence Logistics opened initially 3 years ago. They located on Laraway Road and Route 53. The next year, Cadence doubled down on their investment in Joliet. They moved their corporate headquarters to the city of Joliet from Alsip. And then last year, Cadence again reinvested in Joliet, opening up a facility to manage and repair their trucks as well as other trucks in the community. It's a 77,000 square foot building. So it's the third year in a row Cadence has invested in Joliet. They have been great community partners, and I'm really happy that they're here, and I want to thank them for their continued investment. I said corporate headquarters. We had a second corporate headquarters open downtown. Illinois Marine Towing located their corporate headquarters from Lamont to Joliet. They brought 40 employees with them. This is the third year in a row I've announced the corporate headquarters relocating to Joliet. It was Cadence. We had last year M2M in Motion, which was an electronics company that moved from Schaumburg to Joliet, and now Illinois Marine Towing. I know this is something the City Council we've identified as a goal, diversifying the jobs and the investments coming to Joliet. I think it's great that we have these corporate headquarters investing in Joliet. It's certainly something we want to see continue moving forward. The Joliet Treatment Center had an announcement in 2018. This had been the old Illinois Youth Center on McDonough Street on the west side. It closed down about 5 years ago. A couple of years later, it opened as a Joliet Treatment Center. The state of Illinois was out last summer. They made an announcement that a $150 million rebuild of that center into the Illinois Department of Corrections Treatment Center. It will be a 200-bed inpatient center for inmates with mental illness. It's much needed in our state. Thank you, State of Illinois, and Senator Pat McGuire was very instrumental in pushing that through and seeing that happen. But thank you for that investment. Aside from taking basically abandoned property and get it back online, this is also going to employ 445 people, many of whom are Joliet residents. So that's a great announcement by the state. Thank you for your investment. Love's Truck Stop, the City Council approved that in the fall, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that because I know it was somewhat controversial. Love's came into the Joliet and is going to make $13 million investment, again, in an older East Side neighborhood. Love's is going to employ 75 people at that truck stop. It's going to generate, it's estimated $1.3 million a year for the city of Joliet. The bulk of that money, probably about $1 million a year, is going to come from the sale of gasoline. By law, that money is going to be diverted directly into the Joliet road funds. So currently the city spends about $2.5 million a year repairing roads. We're going to have about another $1 million a year to repair Joliet roads. I think it's great for our city. I think it's great to see investment in older neighborhoods that haven't seen it in a long time. It was controversy. I think some valid complaints or concerns about the infrastructure. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. But overall, I think Love's is a great addition to Joliet, and I welcome them for coming in. And we know with Love's and with the infrastructure that they're going to lay in that intersection, there's going to be more coming behind it. A couple miscellaneous things I'd like to hit. Our Joliet Library, we have a terrific library, two libraries, but one on the east and on the west side. They won the ALA Excellence in Library Programming Award last year. That was for the Star Wars Day event, which occurs downtown Joliet every year. We get about 10,000 people come out from that event. It's a great day. If you haven't been there, come check it out this year. You'll have a lot of fun. Harris, they had their 25th anniversary. I know maybe for some of the older city people, that doesn't seem like 25 years ago that Harris came in, but they've been a great partner for the city of Joliet, and congratulate them on 25 years. The city council adopted the Evergreen Terrace plan in 2018. I literally could do a speech on that alone, but in a nutshell, Joliet to date has spent $25 million on the housing project that's on the west side of the river. It was called Evergreen Terrace. It's now called Riverwalk Homes. There was a lot of dissension on the council about this project and where to go with it. We were able to reach a consensus and move forward with a plan. We adopted Plan 2018. We're going to move forward. So that was a nice job by the council to do that. The I-80 Coalition was formed in 2018. This was done by John Grueling and the Will County Center of Economic Development. The idea is this coalition is modeled off of the coalition that was formed a little bit north of us to get the 355 extension built several years ago from I-55 to I-80. I'm on the coalition. There's a number of local mayors along the I-80 corridor, along with labor leaders and business leaders. I do think as a group we are going to get something done to I-80. We all know that that road is outdated and needs major improvement. And I think this forming the coalition was a big step towards getting that done. I look forward to seeing what we're going to do in the next year or so in that regard. The city of Joliet calls itself the City of Champions. Very fortunately, we had a number of championships last year I'd like to announce. And I said yesterday, when I was compiling this list, some of these I had forgotten about. I forgot they all happened in 2018. But to go down the list, in 2018, Joliet West High School Cheerleader State Championship, Joliet Township High School Special Ed Basketball State Championship, Joliet Catholic Academy Football State Championship, Joliet Catholic Academy Dance Squad State Championship, Joliet Catholic Academy Wrestler DJ Hamidi, second consecutive state championship. He's only a sophomore, so hopefully you're going to hear his name 2 more years in this speech. Joliet Ravens National Championship of United Youth Football League. They were national champions of youth football in Joliet, the Ravens. And then finally, the Joliet Slammers were the Frontier League champions. So congratulations to all of them, and thanks for bringing the honor to our city. Okay, 2 issues I want to spend a little bit of time on with this. The one has to do with the prison. I think most are familiar with the story there, but I'm going to give the history real quickly. The Joliet Prison on Collins Street was closed in 2002. The state of Illinois, when they closed, the Department of Corrections pulled out and left the prison in the condition that you're seeing on the board there. It was left vacant for 15 years. It was vandalized, broken into. It really came to a head in 2017. There were 2 separate arsons set inside the prison, one early in the year, the second one in August of 2017. It was about 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning that another building was on fire inside the prison. So I went out to Collins Street that day. I was with the fire crews as they were putting the fire out. I left, came back to City Hall, and called a meeting with Marty Shanahan and Chris Regis and told them it was time the city had to get involved in this. For a long time, there was finger pointing going on between the city and different coalitions in the state of Illinois. It wasn't the city's property. We weren't able to go inside and save the buildings or do anything. But when there was a problem inside the prison, like a fire, it was city firemen that were inside putting the fire out, city water that was being used to put the fire out, our trucks. So, we had said internally enough is enough. Within 2 weeks, we were in Springfield. Luckily, the state officials that we met with were all, I think, happy that the city of Joliet was finally coming to the table. Within a couple of months, we had worked out a lease agreement. We brought it to the city council, was debated and passed in December of 2017 that the city would get a 5-year lease to take over this property to see what could be done with it. So that's where it stood about a year ago when I gave this speech. This isn't what it looked like. The first slide reflected it. So we had thanks, Dave. We had the prison. We had control of it. We didn't really have any real game plan of what we were going to do. The museum and Greg Pearbolt, who's here today, had been making noise for some time that they thought that there was tremendous tourism and other capabilities at the prison, that it was an unutilized or underutilized thing sitting inside the city of Joliet. So we met with the prison. We scheduled, I guess the first big date was in April when there was a large cleanup date. We reached out to organized labor, and it wasn't just Joliet organized labor. We had union halls from Chicago, from Grundy County, from DuPage County, all the Collier counties come into the prison at a date in April, and we did the first massive cleanup. From there, what basically was, there was a daily cleanup going on inside the prison, all volunteers. And there's a slide that's going to show not just the different labor groups, but all the different local businesses and community groups that volunteered their time or their resources to get inside the prison. I don't want to start naming some because I'm going to miss others and it wouldn't be fair, but there were local businesses that gave over $100,000 of construction materials for the city to go in, or have these union workers go in and re-roof a building or shore up another building. So it was a great community effort, far beyond anything that I think myself or the museum or anybody involved could have imagined was going to happen. This culminated in the prison, the prison break-in event. It reopened in August 26th of last year. There's pictures on the board about that. What I think we showed with the prison, again, all volunteers, so there was very little city dollars spent on this and not money coming from anywhere else. But what we showed is that the prison is viable. We had over 3,000 people at that event. The prison made over $140,000, I believe, at that event for money to be reinvested in the prison. So we showed it could work, that you can have a safe event there, you could generate money, there's room to park the cars for the people that were coming. So I guess what we suspected and what Greg suspected worked. Beyond that, the museum started the tours last year, and I want to get a quick aside on that. The early returns, when we took over, we had Joliet police officers assigned 24/7 to that site to prevent any further arsons or vandalism or any more break-ins to the prison. And what the police started reporting back was almost on a daily basis, just a random bus would pull up, and there would be people from Europe or people from China or people from Canada inside the bus that were coming looking to tour the prison. And I know I saw firsthand, and all of us that were volunteering on any given weekend, there were hundreds of people, not from Joliet, not even from America. Prison break is huge in Europe and huge in China. So we had no idea that these people were coming into our city, but on a daily basis coming in, wanting to get into prison. And I told the story yesterday. I remember one Saturday, the first group, there was a group of 40 people from Italy that did the tour. I was in there working. We were cutting down trees and trimming weeds. After that, there was a group from the Czech Republic that came in and had a tour. About noon, I was ready to go home. I met two people in the parking lot from Canada. They were doing a cross-country tour of America. They were going to end in San Francisco at Alcatraz, but they had come to see the Joliet Prison, so we walked them through. So I think the museum reported the same thing. The tours started in the fall. They're very successful. So to wrap it all up, what I see this going as we move forward, you're going to see more tours. They're going to start, I think, in March, Greg? Okay, March, yeah, and they are live, so you can buy tickets. It's going to go throughout the year. You're going to see more events at the prison. We are going to continue to work with, I'm going to invite Governor Pritzker to come to the site. I want to show him, this is a great story of the state and the city working together. I want to show Governor Pritzker, and we need to, whatever we're going to do moving forward, we need to shore that up. On the east side of Collins Street, there's 144 acres that are completely undeveloped. We've talked with the Joliet Park District and Will County Forest Preserve about getting those acres online for recreational use. There's also the old women's prison on the east side of Collins Street. Currently, Joliet is negotiating with a national chain entertainment company. We did have negotiations with an earlier company. They pulled out because of the amount of money they want to invest, maybe $1 million to reinvest to get that up and running. They did not want to do it on a 5-year lease with the danger that that lease expires and they lose their investment. So I think if you're going to see long-term investment, and there's certainly people knocking at the door, we're going to have to shore up that lease and decide what we're going to do with this property with the state to give investors security that they're going to be there long enough to get their money back. But that was the prison. It probably was the big issue of 2018. Again, I do want to thank Greg Peerbolt, Quinn Adamowski, and Chris Regis from the city. They really spearheaded it, and literally thousands of hours of volunteer time. It was a great story for our community. The other issue I want to spend a little bit of time on is the water situation here in Joliet. And to give a brief history, and I do think awareness has been raised last year, but Joliet is sitting on an aquifer that's running out of water. So give a quick rundown. Joliet currently has 21 deep groundwater wells and 5 shallow groundwater wells that provide all the water for the city of Joliet. The aquifer that we're drawing water from, the city's been using since 1907. It's the Ironton-Galesville aquifer. The city has been monitoring the depletion of this aquifer since the 1960s. So this isn't a new issue, and I think we all knew this day was going to come. The question was, when was it going to happen? Currently, and I should open up. I've given this speech, well, there's people who heard it yesterday, so it wouldn't be fair. Currently, we draw 19 million gallons of water a day out of that aquifer. Every single day, 19 million gallons. The projection is that in another 20 years, it's going to go up to 25 million gallons a day. This is a significant amount of water. And just to put in perspective, this aquifer goes all the way into Wisconsin. So this is not a local issue, it's a regional issue. So I was on the city council for 4 years. This was not a topic that had been discussed. I've been the mayor for about 1.5 years. It had not been discussed. And I got a phone call from the late Mayor Tom Weisner from Aurora. There was a water seminar taking place in Aurora, and he urged me to come up and see what was happening at the seminar. And when I got there, it became clear that we had a problem in Joliet because we had not been actively addressing this. Aurora started 30 years ago switching off of the aquifer. They currently get about half of their water from the Fox River, the other half from the aquifer, but they're in the process of switching off. So we had to kick it in high gear in Joliet, and we did that. And, there was an environmental committee that had been on the books, but had not been filled, certainly since I've been on the city council. I had the committee formed in 2017. The city council approved the appointments. That committee got up and running with the idea, and I think several of the committee members actually work here at Joliet Junior College, but saying we need to find a new source of water. You guys are on point. You need to come back and make recommendations to the city council. So this is where we're at to date. In the fall of 2018, the city hired the engineering firm of Crawford, Murphy and Tilley. Initially, Crawford, Murphy and Tilley established or found 14 viable options for the city of Joliet to switch our water to. They did phase one engineering. They reported back in December. That's been narrowed down to 3 options, and that's the Illinois River, the Kankakee River, or Lake Michigan. And with those 3 options, there's sub-options. Certainly with Lake Michigan, there's various different ways to get water. So phase 2 is currently underway, and essentially what is being dissected right now is the quality of the water, the sustainability of the source. Can it handle 25 million gallons a day for the next 50, 80, 100 years, and what's it going to cost? So we anticipate the engineering firm to make recommendations back to the environmental committee in the fall of this year. The environmental committee are going to make a recommendation to the city council, and the city council we anticipate is going to vote on the new source by December of next year, or this year, of 2019. So this is a huge decision. And again, it's certainly going to go far beyond my time as mayor. The transition period is probably going to take about 10 years to get off of the groundwater wells. We're going to have to redesign the water system within Joliet. We're going to have to acquire property, right-of-ways and property to whatever source we pick. We're going to have to build new treatment centers. We're going to have to pump that water into Joliet. I do think, as mayor, and I think the council would agree, that we're looking at this, again, as a regional issue. I think there's a potential for Joliet. I know a lot of the other smaller communities around us are waiting to see what Joliet's going to do. I think the potential is there that Joliet can pump enough water into the city that we can then turn around and sell water to our surrounding communities. Personally, I think that's the way to go, but it's premature. I'm not going to put my finger on the scale yet. Let's see what the engineering firm comes back, and quite frankly, how the numbers bear out and what the environmental committee recommends. So that's a quick rundown on what's happening, very quick rundown what's happening in Joliet. I made 2 announcements yesterday. They're in the paper, so I'll hit them briefly again today, then I'll open it up for questions. Number 1, the Cullinan site is ready to make an announcement. This is not far from here. I know those issues about the Fen last year with the Cullinan, the Rock Run Crossings property at I-80 and I-55. It's 265 acres that have been bought and want to be developed, not into a shopping mall, as was reported recently in the media again, but into a mixed-use development. Cullinan is anticipating, when it's built out, 8,000 construction jobs and 5,000 permanent jobs. When it's built out, the projections are that this site will generate $1.4 billion in revenue over the next 20 years. They have signed a number of agreements. They have tenants signed up that they have not announced publicly. I've been told there's 2 hotel groups that they have signed that they're going to announce in the near future. Yesterday, I announced, I was authorized to announce that they have Regal Cinemas coming to Joliet. This is a theater group from London. They are going to open a 75,000 square foot facility, 17 movie screens, over 4,000 seats. They have a VIP lounge, dining, and luxury seats experience. It's a very high-end, state-of-the-art theater. They also have, and maybe someone here could explain this to me, I'm sure a millennial probably could, a 4DX and a ScreenX theater experience. Essentially, you're going to be surrounded by screens inside the theater. It's the new cutting-edge theater experience. It's the first of many entities that are coming to Joliet, entertainment entities that are becoming that site. So I was glad Cullinan could finally make that announcement. The groundbreaking is going to be on March 22nd. We're going to be out there. I made this point yesterday. I want to say it again about that site. There were other plans that were on board over the years in Joliet. And the recession in 2008 really submarined the last big plan that was coming to that area. About 2015 or 16, we had a logistics company from Texas come to Joliet, wanted to buy that site, wanted to change the zoning to industrial, and wanted to open up another logistics center on that site. And the city council said no to trucks on that site. We believed there was a better use for that property. We believe it's prime property at the intersections of I-80 and I-55, and the council held out. After we said no, if you look across I-55, right across the road, Our neighbors in Shorewood built a line of warehouses all the way through Shanahan to Route 6 with new truck stops and warehousing on the west side of I-55. And, as mayor, I'm getting a little defensive. Recently, it seems like every issue with a truck or every issue with the infrastructure gets blamed on the city of Joliet. That's not accurate. And we certainly have logistics and trucking and an intermodal in Joliet, but we're surrounded by it. Every one of our neighbors has it. It's on our western border. It's on our eastern border with New Lenox. It's on the southern border with Elwood, who began bringing the intermodal in 2002. They built the largest intermodal at the time inland port in the country. And to the north with Crest Hill and Romeoville. So the truck problems are an issue, and there are probably going to be questions about it, but it's not a Joliet problem. It's a regional problem. And I think moving forward, we need to have a regional solution. So I did want to point that out, but do point out that what's coming in behind us now could have been trucks, and it could have been logistics. It was a viable project, and I give credit to the city council for standing their ground and saying no. The other announcement that I made yesterday had to do with the Hobolt Road Bridge, again, directly tied to trucks and the intermodal. And to wrap this up real quickly, the bridge, there's two components to this. One will be a new interchange at Hobolt Road, just south of this campus. It's going to be a diverging diamond interchange. There will be a 4-lane road built from Hobolt Road south to Route 6. That's being done with state funds. We have $33 million committed from IDOT to build that new road. From there will be a road and a bridge, a privately owned bridge, built over the river directly in the center point. The idea being to draw as much truck traffic as possible off of Route 53 and Route 52, which were not built to handle this. They've not been improved in 60 years. The interchanges are built to get the trucks off of those roads into one committed route in and out of Center Point. I've said repeatedly, this is not an answer to the problem. It certainly doesn't answer the problem with I-80 or the Des Plaines Street Bridge, but it is a big step forward. And I think the biggest thing to note here is the bridge is going to cost somewhere between $175 and $180 million. That's being done with private money. So I've been told repeatedly in my trips to Washington or Springfield, that's in the future. That's how things are going to be built. The days of the massive capital works projects are gone. Public-private partnerships are how government is going to do business. This is an example. The bulk of this new road is going to be done privately. So I do want to thank CenterPoint for putting this together and for helping. Again, I don't know if it's a solution to the problem, but it is a step forward. I think that, along with I-80 and I-55 renovations, is what the area is ultimately going to need. But again, the announcement was made yesterday. They're going to hopefully break ground in early May, is what I've been told, with a completion in 2021 of opening that up. So that's it, and I really glossed over a lot of topics very quickly. If there are any questions, I'm sure I'd be happy to answer them at this time. Yes. Yeah.
I have a few, but my name is Curtis Anderson. I am a resident of Joliet. And with regard to the trucks, the truck fine enforcement,
Yes.
Are the fines being assessed just for being overweight? Because there are a lot of trucks off route on streets they shouldn't be on, and the problem keeps going.
Well, it's both. If you're not on a designated truck route, you can't be overweight. So yeah, they are. And the question TV was, is it only overweight trucks being fined or trucks on the wrong routes? There's both. As a matter of fact, you can see it almost any day. If you're downtown and you cross the Cass Street Bridge coming west, every day you see either a Joliet or a lot of Will County truck enforcement trucks there. The trucks aren't allowed to ride over the Cass Street Bridge, so they're getting hit every day on that. But yeah, they are set up. I know Will County and Sheriff Kelly has an active program going, and we do now in Joliet too. We have 6 officers that are banging trucks every day for being on the wrong roads or being overweight on Joliet roads. Yes?
Hi, Mr. Mayor. My name is Kyle Owens. I actually have 2 concerns. The first concern pertains to your water source idea. Wouldn't it be more economical and cost efficient to draw water from the Des Plaines River?
The question was, would it make more sense to draw water from the Des Plaines River moving forward? That was one of the 14 initial options that was rolled out. I guess the Des Plaines is in better shape now than it was before because it froze a little bit this year. I know when I was a policeman, that river never froze. The reality is, and it's sad, but the sewage that we discharge is cleaner than the water in the Des Plaines River. So I don't think you would ever, it would be expensive to clean it. It's possible to clean it. We know it'd be very expensive, but I don't think you would ever have the public trust to ensure people that it's safe to drink that water, whether it was or wasn't. I think the
See, I'm not
perception.
from the area, so I didn't know that.
Yeah.
My other concern is, I heard from a coworker recently that there's actually a city ordinance restricting motorized bicycles within city limits. And I was told that I have to register it, which means I have to drag it to Springfield. And I know there's a lot of other people who drive these and they can't drive them within city limits. But my concern is I am trying to drive to work, which is in Woodridge, and I'm not driving it around town. I'm just trying to get it to work, and I have to drive it through town in order to get it out of town. So I wanted to propose an idea of maybe paying for a permit that would be more cost efficient to people who have these vehicles who are not driving within city limits, as long as they can provide a work schedule proving that they're driving out of town.
Right. The question, I don't know if you can pick it up TV, the question was about motorized bicycles, not a moped or a motorcycle, a bicycle. Yeah, we're a home rule community. I assume we can issue a permit, but the licensing is all being done through the state of Illinois. It's Jesse White's office, Secretary of State. So I don't know if the city,
Legally, it's not a violation of any state or federal laws. That's my concern. But the city ordinance is restricting us from riding them within city limits.
I can take a look at the ordinance. I'm not familiar with it, but it's something we can look at. I would imagine our ordinance matches state law, but I don't know offhand. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, I know you mentioned about I-80 bridge.
Yes.
So we have a lot of concerns in as far as what's being reported on the news of how dangerous it is, and so what is the?
Well, all right, yeah, quick update, and I don't have a good update. We were never notified of this new report from IDOT that rated the bridge as 6 out of 100 apparently, talked about it being intolerable, that was a quote from it, and that it may need to be shut down. So when the city of Joliet learned about that, we contacted IDOT. We still have not been provided a copy of that report. IDOT is given a different answer to the city, and they came out publicly and gave a different answer. They said the bridge is fine, that they're going to do $5 million in repairs this May on the bridge. So to follow up, we've reached out to state and federal officials. I spoke with Congressman Lipinski's office last week. I spoke with Congressman Foster. He was in City Hall. We met about the I-80 bridge. Essentially, they're in the dark, too. They haven't seen the IDOT report. The $5 million in repairs that IDOT is saying they're going to make, I can't tell you what those repairs are. I don't know. They're telling us privately they're inspecting the bridge every 2 months, but I can't tell you when they were out there last or when they're coming again. So there's a little bit of a disconnect right now, and I can't say much more about it than that. We have our concerns, too. There's 42,000 vehicles a day traveling over that bridge, and any failure would be catastrophic for the area, but for Joliet especially. We couldn't handle 42,000 cars getting off of I-80 and coming on the Joliet Road. So it's an issue moving forward. And I think the bigger issue, I talked a little bit about this before, IDOT was here last summer, and they were actually at the junior college laying out what their plan was for I-80, which was to build a third lane all the way from Ridge Road in Minooka through New Lenox to Route 30, and a new bridge. To do that, they were going to change the actual roadway, because if you're familiar with the bridge now, there's a curve that goes into it, which is dangerous, especially when it rains. They wanted a straight shot over the river, so they were going to build a second bridge and then ultimately tear this bridge down. That was going to cost, they had a price tag of $1.3 billion to do that. So the engineering's done, the plans are there, there's no money to fund this. But my question is, as an Illinois taxpayer, how much money are they willing to invest in a bridge that they're already telling us they want to tear down? So I don't have a great answer. It's something that we are on top of at City Hall, and we're trying to get answers. And I know it's going to be topical moving forward. There's a big push in Springfield with Governor Pritzker and the Democrats controlling both houses to get a large capital bill. If that would include funding to replace that bridge or repair that bridge, I don't know. We're in the dark right now. Yes.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
With regard to the water pipe replacement, the water line replacements that have been done, you said about 5 miles a year. What percentage is that of the total water lines across the city, and is total replacement a goal?
I don't know if total replacement would be a goal. The question was about the sewer mains and the water mains that were replaced, because I don't think it needs to be replaced in subdivisions that are 10 years old. But we have neighborhoods that are 120, 130 years old, so we definitely need to be replaced there. I don't have the percentages either for the old neighborhoods or for the city as a whole. It's a small part of the city as a whole. As far as the older neighborhoods, it's somewhat more significant, but I don't know the numbers offhand. Yes, sir.
So last year, there was a town hall meeting regarding the new Lennox to Minooka stretch. And the state basically said, there's not money for this, and even if there was, it's gonna take a really long time.
Right.
And the toll roads were there saying, well, if you bring in the toll roads, we could do this really nice and quick, and yeah, you have to pay a toll, but think about the safety and all that. Has the city of Joliet reached out to the toll roads at all in order to be able to help either be persuaded and help push that concept if it's gonna create a quicker solution?
Yeah, we did. The question's about I-80 repairs, IDOT versus the tollway authority coming and taking over. The toll authority gave their presentation to the I-80 coalition. And after that, I invited them to come to the city council meeting. They came in front of the council maybe in October or November, gave their same presentation. Offhand, I think the numbers were, their budget is like 1.2 or 1.3 billion a year. That's what they're making. They're spending about 700 million a year. They have redone all their tollways. They're working on 294 right now. After that, they will have completely revamped their tollways. So they're looking for more projects, and they certainly were willing and capable to handle the I-80 project. So they came in front of the city council. This isn't a city Joliet decision. This has to be made in Springfield. But I did present it. I put them on, I guess, on local TV and present to the council. After the election, it was Bob Schillerstrom that came in front of the council. He's been replaced on the Tollway Authority Board with the new administration coming in. There's new people. I have talked to a couple of new tollway commissioners, so that's still on the table. I don't know, when I speak at meetings throughout Joliet, I'll raise the issue, and I get a real mixed response. There's people who have driven that road for many years free and do not want to pay a toll to get on I-80. There's others that say, hey, it's the only way it's ever going to get fixed. So I don't even know in Joliet what the temperature is for that, but it's not a local decision. It has to be made out of Springfield. I will say, though, the tollway basically let it be known that they could get this done in the next 5 years, that the improvements could be made if they were brought in to do it. So it's something that has to be considered. One other question, or issue, Councilman Mudron raised the question, if there was any other stretch of road in Illinois that was built as a free road and converted to tollway. Because all the other tollways were built from scratch, or the 355 extension, 355 was built as a tollway. Apparently there was one small stretch, I believe, up north in I-90 that had been free it's now a toll. So it's not a new concept, but it also is something that hasn't regularly been done. But I would point out that I-80, if you're not familiar, it becomes a toll road as you get towards Chicago at Kedzie Avenue, and it's a tollway through Indiana, through Ohio, and through Pennsylvania, I believe. So it's still a free road here in Illinois, but that may change in the future. Yes, sir.
Regarding the water issue, I mean, so there have been environmental impact studies to take a look at what's the best place to find a new source. Was any part of that work of the environmental impact to look at reducing our usage of water within the city and how we can lessen that impact to draw less water?
Yeah, the committee has formed a subcommittee to talk about that. And I think for everybody, again, there's younger people here, I think that's going to be your reality in the future. That what we've experienced with water, it's not going to be the case moving forward. So the conservation is part of it. Right now, though, we are under the gun to find a new source. We know we got about a 15 or 20-year time frame. We're being told by the scientists the water's going to run out. It's going to take about 10 years to get it done. So, but no, absolutely, conservation is going to be, I think, a major issue. And the cost of water, I think, not just in Joliet, I think everywhere, is going to be significantly higher 20 years from now than it is now. Sure. All right. Oh, I thought I was off the hook, yes.
I was kind of shy of asking this question, but I wanted to ask it anyway.
Sure.
What is your public opinion of high school teacher Ernest running for city council?
I have no opinion. I was at a Martin Luther King Day ceremony at Jacob Henry Mansion, and Mr. Krim spoke. I thought he spoke very well. I've met him through the high school. I guess as a writing candidate, there are rules that have to be followed as far as getting signatures and petitions. There's a candidate here who's aware of that. So he didn't do that. He's a writing candidate. But other than that, the times I've met Mr. Krim, I think he's a very personable guy. Sure. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. New question?
Oh, yeah. So I just want to know, is there a strategic plan to revitalize the downtown Joliet area? Because I read something that you guys were talking about a couple years ago with the Camillus plan. I just wanted to know if
Yes.
you guys have like a new forward with that or not.
Yeah, we are. I didn't talk about downtown this year. Last speeches I have, again, I really had to siphon what I could talk about. Yeah, the downtown plan is moving forward, and one of the main tenets of the Camaro's plan was a couple things. One, to open up Chicago Street, which we're going to do. It's going to flow directly through from I-80 right into downtown, the way it used to do. The second was to develop housing opportunities downtown. So that is something we're actively working on. Steve Jones, our economic development director, is pursuing those on a regular basis. So again, there's probably a speech that can be done just on the downtown development. But yeah, we are following the Camaro's plan. We're aware of it. We're following it, and we're certainly pushing moving forward. And there were a number of businesses, smaller businesses, that opened in downtown this year. That's why I didn't reference them in the speech. Thank you.
I was just going to say, can anyone imagine a $15 bottle of Fiji? That's pretty hefty.
It is.
Just quickly, you said that plan for downtown solves what?
The Camaro's plan. Yes.
Camaros is in the car, like spelling what?
I think similar. It was, I was on the council when this came through, so maybe it's about a 6 or 7 year old plan. Camaro's was the agency that was hired to develop the plan for the city. And there is, I will add to that, there is the City Center Partnership, which is a separate group. I see County Board member Denise Winfrey is here. She's a member of that group. Downtown is also a special TIF district. So taxes that are generated by downtown businesses are kept in that district and allowed to be regenerated for new businesses or business opportunities. So yeah, there are, downtown's treated a little bit differently than other parts of Joliet. So there is an active plan and active planning moving forward trying to develop downtown.
And,
Yeah.
so is this kind of connected to addressing the homeless issues and Joliet as well? Or do you guys have like a separate plan for that?
No, we don't. Well, there's probably some announcements coming in the near future. The homeless problem, I don't know. I don't, there's a police officer here. When I was a policeman, it was hard to tell if we had homeless in Joliet that are being serviced by all the social service agencies or if all those agencies were drawing additional homeless people into Joliet. It really is. I can tell you from my dealings, many of the people who we'd end up in contact with were not from Joliet. They were from other areas, but they were here because of Daybreak Shelter or Morning Star Mission. And I think it's a real credit to our community, what a giving community we have. But we have asked the question, where's Naperville or Orland Park? Or why aren't they providing the services that Joliet is providing? And if they did, would they be seeing more homeless people and would there be less people here? So it's an ongoing issue with Joliet and with downtown. But again, I do think it's a credit to our community. I don't want to come out the wrong way. I think that the fact that this is such a giving community, I think it's a real credit to the people of Joliet. It's been that way for many, many years. Yes?
What's your opinion on the Joliet Mall and Carson a lot of those stores in the mall are closing.
Yeah.
So what's that going to do with the job opportunities in Joliet?
Yeah, the question's about Joliet Mall and what's happening. And this was asked yesterday. I think the malls in general, I think it's an old concept. It's going out of style. We have met with the people at Louis Joliet Mall. They have a plan. It's similar to what's happening at Orland Park or I think Fox Mall, the surrounding malls. There's going to be a conversion. The big box stores the big department stores are going away. I think you're going to see more housing in that area, more entertainment type of facilities. So I don't think there's going to not be no retail, but you're going to see a lot less retail than what you currently have. Yes?
So with changing times in terms of mental health and violence, especially in Joliet, are there any new community policing strategies that the city is really focusing on?
Nothing new. We adopted community policing back when I first came on in the early 1990s. And Joliet, and it's a credit to our police department, it's seen nationwide as a model for community policing. So I think it's been a great job. Yeah, I tell funny stories. When we came on, it was real controversial, and the old timers wanted nothing to do with it. So even within the police department, there was a real rift between the officers that bought into it and the officers that liked the traditional style of policing. But that's long gone. We've been doing it for 30 years in Joliet, and I think we do it really well. So I don't think that there's been any. Maybe the chief could probably speak a little bit, but I don't think there's been any major adjustment. It may be tweaked, but I think it's the same plan that we've been following for 30 years in Joliet. I hope that answers the question. Anyone else? I knew you did.
In the cities of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and Fort Collins, Colorado, which are comparable in size to Joliet, they successfully implemented municipal fiber internet, which has drawn business and economic development to their cities, which basically means that the municipality owns the internet and no longer does Comcast and AT&T have a monopoly or duopoly. Is that something that the city of Joliet may consider in the future? Because it's cheaper for residents, it's faster speeds, businesses love faster speeds.
Yeah, well, the right guy to answer this is right here, our IT director. I will say before you do that when Dave came on board, we were on a bad trajectory, bad policy. Dave Brainerd saved us millions of dollars by calling the council's attention to some bad decisions that have been made in regards to IT and wire that was being laid all over Joliet. But could you answer the question, Dave?
Yeah, so I've been with the city for about 2 years, but prior to that I was with telecom for about 13, so I have a pretty good background with it. Joliet is, I think, 65 square miles. It's the second largest city in landmass. It's just as wide as Chicago. So to build a municipal fiber network correctly, we were projecting anywhere between $15 and $20 million just to touch the, what I'll call hotspots within Joliet. Beyond that, if you want to provide IP or connectivity to businesses and individuals, you become an ISP. And when governments branch out and they're not used to being in a given business, such as being an ISP, you need a legal department, you need a network center, you need a customer service center, and so forth. And when I ran the numbers on it, we would have been in serious trouble because now you're up against companies like Comcast. The margins on these things are not enough where I think it was worth the risk for the city. In addition to that, for the city itself, we've been using wireless. We use Dragon Wave to connect most of our sites, and frankly, that's a rounding error to what it would cost us to run a municipal fiber network.
Yeah, I let him answer the question because I'm not embarrassed to say I don't know half of what he just said.
It is a help. I mean, in other words, it was a real high. You know, by the way, this is something, to dig in Joliet is a bear. It's expensive. Just to run a shot from City Hall to the train station, they wanted to charge $750,000. My kid could hit a three-way. So it was cost prohibitive. It was going to bury us cost.
Yeah, that's a good point because we saw that with the courthouse that's being constructed. Thank you, County Board. Right underneath the soil is nothing but solid rock, and they had to dig down 27 feet, I think, for the elevator shaft. So it's an issue. That's actually why the prison was built where it was in 1850. It's all rock underneath it, so it'd be difficult to tunnel out. But he's right. Where we're located, tunneling through Joliet is very, very expensive. Anything else? Well, thank you. Thank you, Joliet Junior College. Again, enjoy coming out here and speaking. Thank you for your attention. I appreciate it.
No, I'd like to thank our signers. Your hands, I just are amazing, and Mayor had so much to share, so thank you for your help. Mayor Odekirk, again, thank you from all of us at Joliet Junior College for your commitment and dedication to not only the community, but to your support for our college. Our partnership means a great deal to us. Thank you to our students, thank you to our community members, and all of you have a wonderful afternoon.